When it comes to construction, it's a crucial aspect of being human. In fact, regardless of the version of human civilization you follow, even in the prehistoric era, man had to learn how to build things in order to survive, whether it was weapons, shelter, or eventually things like vehicles and other tools for daily life. However, in both cases, there are always those who fail at their tasks, and failure is the only thing that remains visible. Here are some hilarious construction fails. Number 1. You might assume that, when you hear the phrase impossible doors, I'm talking about doors that are inaccessible, and that would be true to that title. But what I'm really talking about are doors that are in locations that would be difficult to access or be suitable for opening in the first place. Take a look at these images to see what I mean. Some are in locations where I can't even begin to understand why they were placed there at all, and some are in houses that are inaccessible from the outside. Yes, there was a time when the presence of these doors made sense, but I don't see that happening now, which begs the question of why they are there in the first place. After all, if someone on the inside didn't know that there was a small or large drop on the outside, that would be a very serious reason to be concerned. But if this was all part of some grand plan, I'd love to ask the creator what it might be about why exactly would they put it there, and was it something that we mere mortals just can't understand? Or was it a failure that happened and no one is able to ask who put the doors and what happened? It's on the list because it's hilarious, and if other entries want to match what this one did, they're going to have to work for it. Number 2. Imagine driving on your neighborhood's highway, country road, or town road. How straight and even are those lines painted to indicate where people are and aren't supposed to be as they drive? Of course, I'm not talking about how the lines occasionally curve when the road bends. Rather, I'm referring to clear straightaways that you can go down and drive on occasionally. That being said, the first thing that fails, you can quite clearly see that someone either lost their balance, lost control, or, in the worst case scenario, may have been intoxicated. Given what you're seeing, how did this not only occur but go so wrong and then remain on the road? Shouldn't it have been fixed right away? As for the other one, we have a crosswalk that is very clearly marked. The issue is that it goes directly through an island of plants, meaning that if you were to follow the intended route, you would have to crawl through the plants. And yes, they could just go around, but then what's the point of the crosswalk? Number 3. Whatever religion, faith, or even denomination you belong to, you have to wonder how they're going to set up their church. They want it to be large enough to accommodate a large number of people, have rooms for special classes, and look elegant most of the time to welcome people in. They also want it to catch your eye overall. However, after you take a look at this church, tell me what you think you're seeing. Look closely at the top of the church. Do you see what I mean? Well, hopefully. From certain angles, the windows and outcroppings create the appearance of a chicken head, though maybe not in the way that makes you think of Chick-fil-A. The irony of this situation is numerous, not the least of which is that if the outcropping weren't in the correct place, the chicken's beak would not be visible, which is what makes it so hilarious. All of these elements have come together to give the appearance of a chicken, not necessarily the holy chicken, but a chicken nonetheless. Number 4. How many trees you would like to have around your house depends on the area in which you live. You might want one to add some color to your yard, or you might plant some so you can take care of them and even benefit from what they grow. The most important thing to remember when having trees outside is to make sure that nothing gets in the way of any trees you want to have. For example, if you have a tree too close to a window, it may block the view, or in the case of this particular home, if you build it incorrectly, one of your garage doors becomes inaccessible because the tree is genuinely blocking it. If you look closely, you'll notice that they did put a kind of sidewalk right up to that blocked garage door. I'm sure that's actually just a small comfort to the owners who now have an eyesore of a garage door, but seriously, how in the world do you miss that tree? You have to ask yourself if they just forgot that the tree was there and thought that something would happen to make it go away later on. Don't even consider blaming the tree for this one, because if you look at the size of it, it was clearly there for a long time before the house ever was. Number 5. This is another one that I'm really having trouble understanding. Even though it's very obvious what the issue is, there's a window at an angle that gives the impression that the thing is falling. That's just not right at all, and despite all of that, I can't even begin to understand how this failed. Not only would it take a lot of work to mess it up, but if you look at the other windows, they're all perfectly fine. You might be wondering how this would require a lot of effort to scroll up, but when you're building a place to live, you want to make sure that everything is level and where it needs to be. In the future, in order to get the desired look for that window, it would be necessary for them to carefully break out the wall at the appropriate location and smooth it out. After that, they would need to install the window glass at an angle so that it would appear as though nothing was amiss. How could so many of those steps have been completed without someone pointing them out? In addition, you have to feel bad for the residents of that window room because they have to look at all the uneven objects and make sure the blinds are properly angled to prevent them from falling due to gravity. That's all for today's construction. Which one was funniest to you, and is there any more you can think of that should be on this list? Let's talk about it in the comments below. Thanks for watching and see you next time.